Morning, everybody. In the state of Florida, drowning is the leading cause of accidental death among young children. Too many people think of pools when it comes to tragic drownings and aquatic safety, or retention ponds. Just like the many throughout the Paradise Island apartments in this community, pose just as much of a risk to children. That's exactly why there are laws and industry standards in place and directing property owners and managers that run this complex and every other complex throughout Duval County and the state of Florida of what to do. Those laws are in place to protect children. Those laws are in place to make sure that we don't lose one of our babies. They don't follow the law. They don't follow industry standards. And that's why on October 2nd, 2022, two-year-old Musiq Jordan-Dye drowned and died in the retention pond just down that way. She shouldn't have. She should still be alive. Make no mistake, had the owners and managers of the Paradise Island apartments followed the law, we are not here. Derica and Malcolm still have their baby. This entire family is not hurting. Two-year-old Musiq Jordan-Dye would still be alive. But we're not just here to talk about music. The Haggard Law Firm has stood with far too many families that have experienced tragedy at a retention pond. Haggard Law Firm has worked hard with advocates to change the law and to make sure that property owners and managers know what to do so that way we don't have the loss of life. Musiq died on October 2nd. In the months that have gone by, we have reached out to the owners and operators of this complex. We have reached out to Fogelman Management and said, what are you doing to change the retention pond? What are you doing to follow the law and to make sure that no one else gets hurt? Their silence is not only deafening, it's dangerous. We've made clear that Musiq will not die in vain, that the family stands before everyone today saying that another child at Duval County will not be hurt in the same way. Another family will not have to go through this tragic loss. We've told Fogelman Properties and the owners and managers of this complex to keep us apprised of everything they do to fix their property and make sure that it is compliant with the law, compliant with industry standards, and in place to protect children. They haven't even as much as confirmed for us that they've had an inspection yet. Children live here. Those children are in danger. The last time I was here, I saw a pregnant woman signing a lease, and she had two other toddlers in hand. I couldn't help but stand there wondering if anyone inside that leasing building warned her and her family that their retention ponds don't follow the law, don't follow industry standards, and that while they know those rules are in place to protect her kids, they're doing nothing about it. That's why we're here. We're here because the children inside this community are at risk and change needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. We cannot thank you all enough for your attention, not only to what happened to Musiq, but coming out here today truly as a partner with us to make sure they finally listen. Because that's what needs to happen. There should not be another story about a drowning in one of these retention ponds, or quite frankly, at any retention pond throughout Duval County. I'm going to pass it over to Derica to speak a little bit about Musiq, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Not a day that I don't miss Musiq. She was the light of our family. We spoke with them several times about getting something done with the retention ponds. They not doing anything. I'm here today with my lawyer. this won't happen to nobody else, child. I would hate for it to happen to somebody else, child. I don't want nobody going through what I'm going through.
You want to tell them what you miss about music?
I miss everything about her. Everything. That was my baby. I visit her every day at the cemetery. I don't want to be honest.
Does anybody have any questions we can answer?
Can you first, I want to know what your success rate is, because you just said that you've represented several families that have gone through this. How are you changing, what is your success rate? Thank you. So as you said, you represented several families in cases like this. Tell us what your success rate is.
Success is measured in not having to be here again. It's in the property managers and owners that have actually listened and followed the law and followed industry standards and made sure that their communities were being managed in a safe way to protect their children. It's for every single one of those property managers and owners out there that will see this very story and will look at their property and realize their children are in danger. And will go back to their employees and say, we're going to do something now. We're not going to wait for someone to die. We're not going to wait for a child to be hurt. We're going to change the way we operate our community today and make sure that someone doesn't get hurt. Our law firm has stood not only with families, but with legislators across the state, across the country, in trying to make sure that not only laws are in place, but that the companies that need to follow those laws know about them. They knew about it. We didn't want to come here today. We reached out to them directly over and over again and said, do what you need to do and tell us that it's being done. Put some of this family's concern at ease so they know that another family is not sitting in danger. We've heard nothing. They haven't told us, they've told us they're working on getting an inspection done. What does that even mean? It takes a day. It takes one day to do that. One. Send out a company and put a barrier around that retention pond. If they're not going to maintain it with the proper slopes and maintain the land the way it is legally required, do what the legislature says and put a barrier around that retention pond. Musiq died in October. How many children live in this community? How many prospective residents are going to pull into that parking lot today with a back seat full of children looking for a place to live? How much money are they spending on those tennis courts, on the running path, to paint lines in the parking lot? How much effort and money do they spend on trying to make sure that they make every dollar they can from leasing those apartments? And do they tell the truth to those that actually come here?
Can we get a little bit more context on what happened on that awful day? Because while it is uncomfortable and it's not a fair question at all to hear, but it's going to be asked in court, was the child being watched when this happened? So how would you respond to that in court, and what happened on that day?
Of course. So the Florida legislature, as well as aquatics advocacy groups in the state of Florida across the country, have all found a single thing that the Florida legislature has actually codified, which is drowning prevention requires layers of protection. And property owners and managers, because they have the money, because they have the resources, because they have the know-how, are absolutely expected and legally bound to make sure they have their layers of protection in place in order to protect a child from getting access to a body of water. When we think of pools, we all think of how a barrier must be around it and there must be a required lock. Far too often have we seen property managers and owners that don't actually care about pool safety not put that proper barrier around or not put that lock on, and it leads to tragedy. The same type of laws are in place and mandate the owners and managers of apartment complexes like this one to make sure that the land around it is properly graded and has a proper slope. That retention pond does not even close to have that. And if you're not going to maintain the land in that manner, the easiest, the safest, and the clearly written directive to them for how to protect children is to put up a barrier. Heck, if they want to make it look more beautiful, put flowers around that barrier. But put a barrier around it, and this doesn't happen.
Can you describe, in the lawsuit it talks about the slope that you just mentioned. Can you describe, I mean, what type of danger that poses and what poor Musiq probably experienced, going down?
Proper slope is supposed to be around the retention pond. So in this case, for every 4 horizontal feet, the land cannot drop more than 1 feet down. The purpose of that for children and for the elderly is to make sure that when someone is walking around the retention pond, one in which they put fountains in because they want to use it as an attraction and they want to call people to come sit by it, to look at it and to enjoy it, so you don't fall in and then have trouble getting out. It's to protect landscapers that are going around on their mobile lawnmowers from actually tipping into the retention pond and drowning. This is an actual safety measure that the findings have been put into law, saying this will protect the elderly and this will protect children from dying and sustaining catastrophic injuries. There isn't a single place around the retention pond where Musiq died that is compliant with the law and industry standards. Not one.
You might sound like a broken record repeating this, but for the sake of this conversation that we're having, just share what has the apartment complex management, what have they said / done since the tragic incident?
We reached out to them and we made absolutely clear that there is nothing that can bring Musiq back. There's probably little, if anything, that will ever be done to make this family close to whole. They lost a 2-year-old. They lost a baby. But the very least that they could do, and I credit them, is stand up and say that make sure that this place and every other place be brought up to code. So we reached out to them and we said, it is absolutely clear, and you probably already know it because you're legally required to be doing the inspections, that retention pond is not safe and that it's against the law. So are you going to grade it and fix the land around it, or are you going to put up a barrier? Tell us and keep us apprised every single step of the way. We even made clear to them that we would hold off on filing a lawsuit if they would do what they needed to do to change. They've told us that they are working on getting an inspection. We've reached out again. Has the inspection been done? What is being done to protect all of the children in this complex? Silence. And now if you walk over there, you see nothing's been changed. The flowers that are memorial for Musiq still stand there. How many employees walk by that memorial every single day? Think of how their property is responsible for a 2-year-old's death, and then realize they're doing nothing to change. Just follow the law. A bare minimum. Follow the law.
Where do you all get the data or the information? Was it a public records request on the figures of that retention pond? How did you all gather that?
It is available via public record to see how this retention pond was constructed. The actual, if you think of like blueprint plans, what laws at that time for the slope they agreed to follow. And then the St. Johns River Water Management District has laws that are public record that direct them exactly how to follow that. And Duval County is special in that it acknowledges if you're going to struggle to keep the slope around the pond up to code, put a barrier around it. Put a barrier around it. It is easier and more cost efficient to do that. So do it. Neither retention pond has it. Heck, if you just look over right at this little body of water right in front of the property, it looks like a decrepit swamp. But right in front of the leasing office, they've got a nice little fountain. What is their concern here? Are they more concerned about trying to lease, trying to make money, or do they genuinely care about childhood safety? And if they do something about it.
Critics of negligence lawsuits often go on the opposing side and say, well, where does the responsibility come in for those you're filing for? What is your response to that?
The law is absolutely clear and the findings are absolutely clear from the government and from every single advocacy group out there that the layers of protection need to be followed, that they understand what the threats are going to be before them. They understand from a corporate level, from a professional level, all of the different risks that are posed from running and operating a retention pond. And they don't do it. They are in a superior position to make sure that all of the children that enter their community are protected from the known risks posed by their retention pond. And they ignore it. They have the plants. They are required to have the laws. This family doesn't have the plans. And this family sure was never warned that they were refusing to follow the law.
You said you got your hands on the original.
I'm sorry.
You said you got your hands on the original blueprints. Have you, since this accident, been able to do your own inspection of the slope at this retention pond?
We know for a fact that retention pond is not compliant with the law and not compliant with industry standards.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You guys are always fantastic. We cannot thank you enough for helping us make sure that this county understands that they're not doing what they need to. And we hope this truly makes a difference, and they will do something, because those children are at risk, and you guys play a role in protecting this community, and we can't thank you enough. Truly. Thank you.